after the film, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, this took a long time to do, and there was a lot of energy from a lot of people. Um, I wasn't meant to edit this myself in the beginning because we have a regular editor, and Sid is the guy with the music and all the sound in the film. Yeah. So we were actually he also left Singapore midway through the production. So we were actually doing the audio across the Bay of Bengal. Um, it was okay through Dropbox and all that stuff. So anyway, if you have any questions, any comments, that would be great for me to hear. If you're going to flame this, please flame it soon, because I really want to move on to my next project. Uh, yeah. Any questions? It took about 16 to 18 months to do this because we had to work around a lot of people's schedules. And of course, as you saw, everything was shot on location. And I'm not sure how many of you are actually familiar with an independent film or traditionally what an independent film is made up of. Think of a film, think of any film, Iron Man, anything. Think of Tree of Life. Think of its budget. Divide one by that number, and you have a budget for this film. Yeah, so we basically had a lot of tight resources, and that didn't go over well. We rehearsed this before. No, I'm kidding. We didn't rehearse anything. Yeah. Are there any questions? I just want to also, before we move on, I want to thank all the actors, and I wanted to thank, of course, the Singapore International Film Festival for having us, and Cinema for being a great venue. Sorry about the little mess up in the beginning. I think all the actors put up with a lot from me and from Sid. So yeah, you had a question.
Were any of the characters' stories based on real experiences?
Yes, we did a lot of extensive interviewing. I didn't want to do something which I had no backing or substance for, so we did a lot of interviews. We met with a lot of people. Yeah, and it was a pretty long process to actually get to the scripting stage. For example, the landlady, the stuff that she says, all that stuff has actually been said to me live, or to him and Varun, who's not here today. So it's all based on personal experiences, and even the training thing that was being called on, the cats game, the game of the cats that they wanted to play with, that's actually something that was done. Well, a variation of that was done at a company retreat. So yeah, so that everybody feels like they are part of something. So yeah, everything is based in some truth, and of course there are a lot of headlines. I mean, if you read local newspapers, I'm sure you would have picked up on something. Some lines were just directly lifted from some famous people in various contexts. But I tried to stay true to the context in within the film as well. Yes.
So what was the chief message that you wanted to send out with this film?
You want to take that? I'm a little scared of this guy because.
Well, you can each have your own opinion.
Yeah, of course. Okay, chief message. I wanted to basically try and encapsulate various experiences that I had seen similarities in after conducting interviews and, of course, being a human being alive in Singapore. So you see a lot of these things and you see some patterns and some similarities. And having lived here for about 10 years, a little more than 10 years, I think a lot of the experience that I've had, a lot of things that I've had, I wanted to sort of bring that to the fore. And I haven't seen this kind of thing. Usually when you see a film about immigrants, it's either how they all get together and cook on the weekends, or how everybody's really happy and they have their own little community. So I wanted to do a film about people who don't feel that sense of community, or who band together with people of their own kind, or people that come from where they come from, people who are actually outsiders in that sense. So I think I wanted to address those themes and put them together and then mess with your head. No, the last part's not good. Sid.
I think you covered a fair lot, but I think it's in terms of messages, I think it's a real mixed bag because my interpretation is that I mean, this is a very comfortable place to live in, and people come from a whole lot of backgrounds with very different experiences. You turn that thing inside out. You take a bunch of people who have absolutely nothing in common besides not fitting in one way or the other. One of the main protagonists is the girl Mary is from here, but she's sort of got a very a cross experience too. On one hand, she's expressing some fairly xenophobic sentiments. At the same time, it's also kind of embodied in her wanting to really express herself and like feeling tied on and unable to say anything. And then you have a dad who's really just trying to look out for her and do the best for her, but he can't, for all he tries, he can't go beyond the very generic, you know, counter statement, counter statements, you know, and most of her dad lines are like, you know, I mean, you would very generic things you would hear from anyone, you know, just saying, you know, this is fine, you know, you don't have to feel like you're in a supermarket or something. This is, you know, a comfortable place. Just try and loosen up, and then, you know, she wouldn't have nothing of it. So.
Also in the research, there are a lot of different writers who we referenced throughout. I'll let him talk about the Tamil stuff, and Sasha can probably talk a little bit about the Russian stuff because it was informed by people who have had outsider experiences. So, for example, the English dialogues by the Frenchman who's taking photographs of Vic's character, that is an adaptation of stuff that Nin wrote, and there's references to Bharatiya in the Tamil stuff. And there's a lot of, even the whole song is basically a poem.
The song that you heard when Setu was fired is when he's standing in the water, and I wanted it to be something really ironic. It's a 100-year-old poem by you know, this great Tamil poet called Bharatiya. The song literally translates to "Let go and you will be free." You know, and here's a man who really doesn't want to let go, but he's kind of being forced to. So I thought that was kind of ironic. I mean, I really love you know. I was lucky enough, I was taught Tamil by my grandmother growing up, so I was lucky enough to hold on to a few of these frames. I think, yeah, we reference a lot of classic literature by throwing it in there in a somewhat ironic but informative way.
I understand you talked a lot about and for this film. So my question would be, what do you get out of this experience, or what have you learned, or how do you feel about it?
Okay, I can answer that in a few ways, but basically, it was an eye-opener for me. I mean, a lot of us basically come here and have very comfortable lives, and you can pretty much stay in your little condo and have a very comfortable sort of existence where you don't bother about what's happening around you, or you don't see what's happening around you, and you're not inquisitive. So I think the general curiosity that I had, I followed that and found out a lot about, you know, Singapore and how people are and how people live through personal interaction. I mean, you can read the newspapers and that'll give you one view. You can go online, that'll give you another view. But the most important thing is to try and get to know people and distribute some apples on Orchard Road. And I think that sort of was a very big eye-opener for me. And as a filmmaker, I think, yeah, this was a huge challenge to, yeah. Basically, I mean, even the cinematography, there was one guy holding a camera and walking around and trying to get the best out of a scene or best out of a scenario and try and cover everything that would make sense for that scene. So what we ended up doing was we took the scene within a scene and ended up flipping the relationship between what was happening in the foreground versus what was happening in the background, which is why there's a lot of symbolism throughout the film. And I think that happens when you have a low budget and your resources are tight. You either make a very symbolic film or you make a very simple film with a very small scope. And unfortunately, I was very ambitious, and I tried to use a lot of symbols, and that meant changing the mise-en-scene and changing the relationship between those two. So we did that pretty consciously. So I learned how to do that through this film. I don't know if it's good or bad, that's subjective, it's up to you guys. I kind of like the ability to do that, not make it just about one guy's experience or two people's experience. I wanted to be more than that. I don't know if I answered the question.
Any more dying questions?
What was your reason for the choice of locations like at Arab Street and Little India, and so why did you choose those locations to shoot in, and why not, Mojini? Well, were they seen as representative of Singapore in some way, and why not other locations?
Okay, for every character we sort of chose locations in something that suited the character. And the only common one that happens across different characters is probably Arab Street. And I think aesthetically I really like that place. So walking around Arab Street I can just get lost and just keep staring at stuff for hours. This was actually the cut down version. The actual film is about 2 hours 45 minutes long. So if you thought this was tough to sort of sit through, people have seen worse. But yeah, I'm kidding. I don't mean that. So yeah, I like staring at stuff at Arab Street. I thought Little India would be an appropriate setting because it's like it's a completely, it changes. Little India is very different on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and on Saturday and Sunday it's a completely different place. So I wanted to sort of bring that out also and shoot there specifically. And I really like the idea that people get together in that little square and watch films or watch TV shows. And I wanted to create that sort of environment. And of course, I couldn't build sets to create that environment, so it was necessary to shoot in those locations. The Starbucks thing, we didn't want to go, well, we tried going to them for the previous film, and they were a little reluctant when they read the synopsis saying that, why do you want to use the Starbucks? The guy's an insomniac, he needs to stay up, he has to have coffee. No, 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 no. So then we tried for this film as well because we wanted to shoot a scene where this guy is sitting there and trying to have a conversation with his friend. And they again said, obviously, what's the context again? So that didn't work out. So we went there on Chinese New Year when everything was closed. So this is, yeah, guerrilla stuff. We've been thrown out of places. We've been asked to leave. I have a lot of footage of guards yelling at us, saying, what are you doing here? You can't be shooting here. All sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's been kind of difficult to do the guerrilla thing, but I think it was worth it. I hope you guys got something out of it as well. Any other questions?